They took her weapon away. Then she neutralized 6 attackers in 72 seconds bare-handed. When FBI Special Agent Elena Cobbs was forced to surrender her service weapon during an undercover operation in the Chicago docks, her criminal contacts believed they had eliminated her primary threat while positioning themselves for an interrogation that would reveal federal investigation details. What they didn't understand was that her Krav Maga mastery and close-quarters combat training had transformed her entire body into a weapon system more lethal than any firearm, and that their attempt to disarm her had actually freed her to demonstrate capabilities that would be measured in seconds rather than minutes. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The undercover assignment had begun 6 months earlier when the FBI's Organized Crime Task Force identified a sophisticated arms trafficking network operating through Chicago's industrial waterfront, with connections to international weapons smuggling that posed significant threats to national security and domestic law enforcement operations. The investigation required deep penetration of criminal organizations that had proven resistant to conventional surveillance and informant development. Special Agent Elena Cobbs had been selected for the assignment based on her expertise in firearms trafficking investigations and advanced combat training that made her uniquely qualified for dangerous undercover work with violent criminal organizations. Her background included specialized training in close-quarters combat, weapon systems, and tactical operations that exceeded standard FBI preparation while providing capabilities essential for surviving prolonged exposure to hostile environments. The criminal network operated through seemingly legitimate shipping and warehousing operations that provided cover for weapons trafficking activities involving military-grade firearms, explosives, and tactical equipment stolen from government facilities or purchased through corrupt suppliers. The sophistication of their operations suggested professional organization with extensive resources and security capabilities that made investigation extremely challenging. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Elena's cover identity as arms dealer Marina Volkov included fabricated background in Eastern European weapons markets, with documentation and references that would withstand scrutiny from criminal organizations experienced in vetting potential business partners. The identity provided credibility while enabling access to trafficking networks that remained suspicious of outsiders and potential law enforcement infiltration. The initial months of investigation had involved establishing trust and credibility within the criminal organization through small-scale transactions and demonstrations of firearms expertise that convinced targets of her legitimacy as a legal weapons dealer. Her systematic approach to developing criminal relationships reflected FBI training while requiring careful balance between investigative objectives and personal safety. Intelligence gathering during undercover operations had revealed that the trafficking network was planning major weapons transfer involving stolen military equipment worth over $5 million, with buyers representing international terrorist organizations and domestic criminal groups. The transaction would provide evidence necessary for dismantling the network while preventing weapons from reaching intended destinations. The meeting location had been selected by criminal contacts at an abandoned warehouse complex in an industrial area of Chicago's South Side, with security arrangements that included multiple escape routes and surveillance capabilities designed to detect law enforcement activity. The criminals' choice of location reflected their operational sophistication and awareness of potential law enforcement threats. Elena's preparation for the meeting had included standard undercover protocols, with backup surveillance and rapid response teams positioned to provide assistance if the operation was compromised or her cover was blown. However, the warehouse location and criminal security measures made immediate backup assistance problematic if situations developed rapidly during the meeting. The weapons trafficking meeting began normally with routine security procedures and identity verification that Elena's cover identity successfully passed, providing initial access to criminal leadership and operational details about planned weapons transfer. Her performance during security screening reinforced her credibility while providing opportunities for intelligence collection about organizational structure and operational methods. However, The situation deteriorated rapidly when one of the criminals recognized subtle behavioral patterns that suggested law enforcement training rather than criminal background, creating suspicion that led to more intensive scrutiny of Elena's identity and intentions. Her cover remained intact, but criminal leadership became cautious about proceeding with planned transactions. The confrontation began when criminal leader Viktor Kozlov ordered his security personnel to disarm Elena as a precautionary measure before continuing with weapons transfer negotiations, claiming that presence of armed outsiders violated organizational security protocols. The disarmament request appeared reasonable, but created tactical disadvantage that could become dangerous if her cover was completely blown. Elena's compliance with disarmament order was a calculated decision based on assessment that resistance would immediately compromise her investigation, while cooperation would maintain cover story and provide opportunities for continued intelligence gathering. Her surrender of service weapon was a tactical choice rather than submission to criminal authority. The criminal organization's security procedures included comprehensive search for additional weapons and recording devices that might indicate law enforcement affiliation, with techniques that demonstrated experience in detecting undercover operations and federal surveillance equipment. The thorough search created additional stress while testing Elena's cover story and prepared responses to criminal scrutiny. What the criminals failed to recognize was that Elena's specialized training had prepared her for exactly this scenario, with hand-to-hand combat capabilities that exceeded her marksmanship skills, while providing tactical advantages in close-quarters situations where firearms might be impractical or unavailable. Her compliance with disarmament was a strategic decision rather than a tactical defeat. The warehouse environment provided both advantages and disadvantages for potential combat situations, with industrial equipment and structural elements that could serve as weapons or obstacles depending on tactical circumstances. Elena's assessment of the space had begun immediately on arrival, identifying potential advantages and escape routes that might become crucial if diplomacy failed. As criminal suspicion regarding her identity continued increasing, despite her careful maintenance of cover story, Elena realized that the situation was developing toward a confrontation that would require either extraction by backup teams or utilization of combat capabilities that would reveal her law enforcement training, while potentially compromising the broader investigation into international weapons trafficking. The atmosphere in the warehouse grew increasingly tense as Viktor Kozlov continued scrutinizing Elena's responses to routine questions about her weapons-dealing background, his experienced criminal instincts detecting subtle inconsistencies in her cover story that suggested law enforcement training rather than genuine criminal experience. His growing suspicion was evident in the way his security personnel positioned themselves around her while maintaining casual appearances. "Marina," Kozlov said with calculated casualness, using Elena's cover name while studying her facial expressions, "your knowledge of military weapons specifications seems quite comprehensive for someone who claims to have learned through black market transactions. Tell me, where exactly did you acquire such detailed understanding of NATO ammunition specifications and military procurement procedures?" Elena's response maintained her cover identity while providing plausible explanations for technical knowledge that could have been acquired through criminal contacts rather than law enforcement training. "My previous partners included former military personnel who provided technical expertise in exchange for access to international markets. Knowledge is currency in weapons trafficking, and understanding specifications prevents costly mistakes." The criminal leader's security chief, a man known as Dmitry, had been observing Elena's body language and behavioral patterns throughout the meeting, his experience in counter-surveillance and security operations providing expertise in identifying potential undercover agents and law enforcement personnel. His increasing attention to her movements suggested growing concern about her true identity. "Your physical conditioning appears quite advanced for a civilian weapons dealer," Dmitry observed while moving closer to Elena's position. "Most arms traffickers I know prioritize business skills over fitness training, but you carry yourself like someone with military or law enforcement background." Perhaps you could explain your exercise routine and training history. The questioning strategy employed by the criminals reflected sophisticated understanding of law enforcement techniques and undercover operations, suggesting that their organization had previous experience with federal infiltration attempts and had developed countermeasures for detecting and neutralizing undercover agents. Their expertise created significant challenges for maintaining operational security. Elena's awareness of her tactical situation was heightened by recognition that criminal suspicion was increasing despite her careful maintenance of cover story, while backup surveillance teams remained outside the warehouse perimeter, where they could not provide immediate assistance if the situation deteriorated rapidly. Her isolation within hostile environment was becoming increasingly apparent. The warehouse layout provided both opportunities and challenges for potential combat scenarios, with industrial equipment including conveyor systems, storage racks, and machinery that could serve as weapons or obstacles depending on tactical circumstances. Elena's continued assessment of environmental factors reflected training that prepared her for utilizing any available resources in defensive situations. Criminal organization security procedures had included jamming of communication devices that might be used for emergency coordination with law enforcement backup teams, effectively isolating Elena from external assistance while ensuring that any confrontation would occur without immediate federal response capabilities. The jamming demonstrated organizational sophistication and operational security awareness. Viktor Kozlov's questioning became more direct and threatening as his confidence in Elena's criminal identity declined, with specific challenges to her cover story that demonstrated extensive knowledge of legitimate weapons trafficking operations and typical criminal behavior patterns. His expertise made deception increasingly difficult while creating pressure for more convincing responses. Marina: I have conducted business with many weapons dealers throughout Eastern Europe and international markets, Kozlov stated with obvious skepticism. Your accent and mannerisms suggest American training rather than European criminal background. Perhaps you would care to explain these discrepancies in your claimed background and experience. The security personnel surrounding Elena had gradually moved into positions that would enable rapid physical restraint or elimination if their leader determined that she posed security risk to organizational operations, with positioning that demonstrated tactical awareness and preparation for violent confrontation. Their movements were subtle but clearly coordinated through practiced procedures. Elena's assessment of immediate threats revealed 6 armed criminals positioned around her location, with additional personnel guarding exits and maintaining perimeter security that would prevent escape or rescue attempts. The numerical disadvantage was significant, but her training had prepared her for scenarios involving multiple opponents in confined spaces with environmental obstacles. The psychological pressure created by criminal suspicion and implicit threats was designed to force mistakes or admissions that would confirm law enforcement affiliation while creating justification for violent response to perceived threat. Elena's training in stress inoculation and psychological warfare provided advantages in maintaining operational composure under hostile interrogation conditions. Dimitri's continued observation of Elena's responses to stress and questioning was providing him with additional evidence that her behavioral patterns were inconsistent with claimed criminal background, while her physical conditioning and tactical awareness suggested professional training that exceeded typical weapons dealer capabilities. His analysis was becoming increasingly accurate and dangerous. The weapons cache displayed for the planned transaction included military-grade firearms and tactical equipment that provided Elena with crucial intelligence about organizational capabilities and supply sources, but also demonstrated the criminals' access to sophisticated weapons that could be used against law enforcement personnel if the investigation was compromised. Elena's maintenance of cover story was becoming increasingly difficult as criminal scrutiny intensified, while her tactical assessment indicated that situation was developing toward a violent confrontation that would require either successful deception or utilization of combat capabilities that would reveal her law enforcement training while potentially compromising the broader investigation. As tension continued building and criminal suspicion approached certainty about her true identity, Elena recognized that the situation was reaching a critical decision point where diplomatic solutions would no longer be possible, and survival would depend on combat capabilities that had been developed through years of specialized training in hand-to-hand combat and close-quarters defensive tactics. The warehouse environment, criminal positioning, and weapons availability created a tactical scenario that would test every aspect of her combat training, while providing opportunities to demonstrate that specialized preparation could overcome numerical disadvantages and weapon superiority through superior technique, environmental awareness, and tactical surprise that would reverse apparent disadvantages.
The moment of truth arrived when Viktor Kozlov received a text message on his encrypted phone that contained information from his contacts in law enforcement intelligence networks, revealing Elena's true identity as FBI Special Agent Elena Cobbs and confirming that her undercover operation had been targeting his weapons trafficking organization for federal prosecution. His expression shifted from suspicion to cold certainty as he processed the implications. "Agent Elena Cobbs," Kozlov said with dangerous calm, using her real name while signaling to his security personnel to prepare for immediate action. "Federal Bureau of Investigation, specialized in organized crime and weapons trafficking investigations. Your undercover operation has been quite impressive, but my sources in law enforcement have provided very interesting information about your true identity and mission objectives." Elena's cover was completely blown, but her training had prepared her for exactly this scenario, with tactical responses designed to maximize survival chances while potentially salvaging intelligence objectives through strategic action. Her immediate assessment focused on threat evaluation and environmental factors that would affect combat effectiveness in confined space with multiple armed opponents. The criminal organization's response to confirmed federal infiltration was swift and coordinated, with security personnel moving to surround Elena while maintaining weapons ready for immediate use. Their positioning demonstrated professional tactical training and experience with violent confrontations involving law enforcement personnel, creating significant challenges for any defensive action. "You have caused significant problems for our operations," Kozlov continued while his men completed their tactical positioning. "And federal investigation represents unacceptable threat to our business activities and personal security. Your presence here provides opportunity to send clear message to law enforcement about consequences of interfering with our organizational interests and operational security." Dmitry moved closer to Elena's position with zip-tie restraints and what appeared to be interrogation equipment, suggesting that the criminals intended to extract information about federal investigation methods, personnel identities, and operational procedures before eliminating the threat she represented to their continued criminal activities. The interrogation would likely be both lengthy and violent. Elena's tactical assessment revealed that 6 armed criminals were positioned around her location with weapons ranging from handguns to assault rifles, while additional personnel maintained perimeter security that would prevent escape or rescue attempts. The numerical and weapons disadvantage was substantial, but her combat training provided techniques specifically designed for such scenarios. The warehouse environment included numerous potential weapons and tactical advantages that could be utilized by someone with advanced combat training and environmental awareness, including industrial equipment, structural elements, and stored materials that could serve defensive or offensive purposes during close-quarters combat situations involving multiple opponents. "Your federal backup teams cannot reach this location in time to prevent what is about to happen," Kozlov stated with confidence based on intelligence about FBI surveillance capabilities and response times. "Communication jamming ensures that your distress signals cannot reach assistance, while our security arrangements prevent unwanted interference from law enforcement or other federal agencies." The psychological warfare component of criminal strategy included verbal threats and intimidation designed to create fear and desperation that might lead to tactical mistakes or information disclosure that would benefit organizational security while providing additional intelligence about federal investigation methods and personnel. The pressure was systematic and professionally applied. Elena's response was professionally calm despite the obvious danger, her training having prepared her for high-stress situations where emotional control and tactical thinking were essential for survival against superior numbers and firepower. Her composure was both defensive technique and psychological weapon against opponents who expected fear and desperation. Gentlemen, I understand your concerns about federal investigation, but you should consider that my capture or death will trigger massive law enforcement response that will end your operations permanently. My disappearance will result in full federal task force deployment and complete dismantling of your organization. The criminal leadership's discussion about appropriate response to federal infiltration revealed internal disagreement about whether elimination or interrogation would better serve organizational interests, with some personnel advocating immediate violence, while others preferred intelligence extraction that might provide advantages for future operations against law enforcement activities. Kozlov's decision to proceed with interrogation and elimination was based on assessment that federal investigation represented existential threat to organizational survival, while Elena's capture provided opportunity for intelligence gathering and demonstration of criminal capabilities that would deter future law enforcement interference with trafficking operations. Agent Cobbs, you will provide complete information about federal investigation procedures, personnel assignments, and operational security methods. Your cooperation will determine whether your death is quick or prolonged, but outcome is not negotiable regardless of your federal training or backup capabilities. The movement of criminal personnel toward Elena's position marked the transition from verbal confrontation to physical violence, with coordination that demonstrated tactical training and experience in subduing resistant subjects. Their approach was professional but revealed assumptions about her capabilities that would prove fatally incorrect within the next 72 seconds. Elena's assessment of immediate tactical situation confirmed that survival required immediate action using hand-to-hand combat capabilities that had been developed through years of specialized training in Krav Maga, close-quarters combat, and defensive tactics designed specifically for scenarios involving multiple armed opponents in confined spaces with environmental obstacles and weapons. As 6 armed criminals moved to within striking distance while maintaining weapons ready for immediate use, Elena prepared to demonstrate that federal combat training had transformed her entire body into weapons system more lethal than their firearms, while providing tactical advantages that would reverse apparent disadvantages through superior technique, environmental awareness, and combat experience.
Elena's response to the 6 approaching criminals was instantaneous and devastating, as her Krav Maga training took complete control, her body moving with fluid precision that transformed apparent vulnerability into explosive offensive action. The first attacker, Dmitry, reached for her arm and found himself facing a defensive technique that shattered his wrist while simultaneously seizing his weapon and using his forward momentum to drive him into the second attacker with bone-crushing force. The improvised weapon created from industrial debris became an extension of Elena's combat system as she struck the third attacker's weapon hand with devastating accuracy, causing him to drop his firearm, while a follow-up elbow strike to his solar plexus sent him crashing into warehouse equipment. Her movement was continuous and flowing, each action setting up the next while maintaining tactical awareness of remaining threats and environmental factors. The fourth attacker's attempt to aim his rifle was disrupted by Elena's closing distance faster than his reaction time allowed, her training enabling her to get inside his effective range while applying joint manipulation techniques that not only disarmed him but used his own weapon as a lever to break his arm at the elbow. The sound of snapping bone was audible throughout the warehouse as she continued flowing into position for engaging the fifth target. Environmental utilization became crucial as Elena used the warehouse's concrete support pillar to amplify the impact of throwing the fourth attacker's body into the fifth criminal, while simultaneously kicking a wheeled cart into the path of the sixth attacker, who was attempting to get a clear shot angle. Her spatial awareness and tactical movement demonstrated years of training in three-dimensional combat scenarios with multiple opponents and obstacles. The fifth attacker recovered faster than anticipated, but found himself facing defensive techniques that turned his recovered weapon against him through precise manipulation of his firing grip and trigger finger, causing him to discharge his weapon harmlessly into warehouse ceiling, while Elena's counterattack resulted in his unconsciousness through sleeper hold applied with clinical precision that stopped blood flow to his brain. The final attacker, attempting to maintain distance while acquiring target lock, discovered that Elena's movement speed exceeded his ability to track her position as she used warehouse equipment for cover while closing distance through route that prevented clear shot. Her final technique combined takedown, disarmament, and restraint in single flowing movement that left him unconscious and zip-tied with his own restraints. Viktor Kozlov stood frozen in disbelief as he processed what he had just witnessed. 6 armed and trained security personnel neutralized by a single unarmed woman in time span that seemed impossible despite evidence of his own eyes. The clinical precision and tactical superiority demonstrated by Elena exceeded every assumption about federal law enforcement capabilities while revealing training that approached special forces levels. Elena's immediate post-combat assessment confirmed that all 6 attackers were neutralized without permanent injury, her training emphasizing controlled application of force that achieved tactical objectives while minimizing long-term damage to subjects who would likely face prosecution rather than elimination. Her restraint demonstrated professional discipline despite life-threatening circumstances. The warehouse environment showed evidence of explosive combat activity with damaged equipment, displaced materials, and unconscious criminals positioned throughout the space where 72 seconds of violence had transformed tactical situation from apparent federal agent capture to complete criminal organization defeat through superior training and environmental awareness. Kozlov's attempts to process tactical implications of what had occurred were complicated by recognition that Elena's combat capabilities exceeded anything he had encountered during decades of criminal activity, while her systematic neutralization of armed opponents suggested specialized training that challenged fundamental assumptions about federal law enforcement capabilities and tactical preparation. "Agent Cobbs," Kozlov said with combination of respect and fear, "your combat demonstration has been quite educational. Perhaps we should discuss alternate arrangements for resolving our current situation that do not involve additional violence or federal prosecution that might result from continued resistance to your investigative objectives." Elena's response reflected both tactical victory and professional law enforcement priorities as she established control over crime scene while preparing for backup team arrival and evidence preservation that would support prosecution of international weapons trafficking organization. Her success had achieved investigative objectives while demonstrating that specialized hand-to-hand combat training could overcome apparent insurmountable tactical disadvantages. The transition from combat to law enforcement procedures required immediate attention to criminal custody, evidence security, and coordination with federal backup teams who would process crime scene and begin formal arrest procedures for surviving members of the weapons trafficking organization. Elena's tactical success had created opportunities for dismantling criminal network through legal prosecution. Backup communication systems enabled Elena to contact federal task force coordinators and request immediate tactical support for securing warehouse location and processing evidence related to international weapons trafficking investigation, while ensuring that surviving criminals received appropriate medical attention for injuries sustained during defensive action. As Elena maintained tactical control over the crime scene while awaiting federal backup team arrival, the 72-second combat demonstration had proven that specialized hand-to-hand combat training could overcome numerical disadvantage and weapon superiority through superior technique, environmental awareness, and tactical preparation that transformed apparent defeat into complete investigative success. The warehouse location that had been selected by criminals for isolation and security advantages had become a crime scene where federal investigation achieved decisive victory through combat capabilities that exceeded the criminal organization's assessment of law enforcement training and tactical preparation, demonstrating superiority of professional preparation over criminal experience and numerical advantages.
The immediate aftermath of Elena's 72-second combat demonstration left the warehouse crime scene requiring systematic evidence collection and criminal custody procedures that would support federal prosecution of the international weapons trafficking network, while medical attention was provided to the 6 neutralized attackers who had sustained various injuries during the brief but intensive close-quarters combat encounter. FBI tactical response teams arrived within minutes of Elena's communication, finding a situation that exceeded their expectations for undercover operation outcomes, with criminal organization leadership and security personnel secured through defensive action that had transformed potential federal agent capture into complete investigative success. The tactical team's assessment confirmed professional execution of defensive techniques under extreme circumstances. Medical evaluation of the 6 attackers revealed injuries including broken wrists, fractured ribs, dislocated joints, and temporary unconsciousness, but no permanent damage that would prevent their eventual prosecution for federal crimes, including weapons trafficking, assault on federal agent, and conspiracy charges related to international criminal activities. Elena's controlled application of force demonstrated professional training and legal restraint. Viktor Kozlov's cooperation with federal agents increased significantly following demonstration of Elena's combat capabilities.
His recognition of superior tactical preparation leading to voluntary disclosure of organizational structure, operational procedures, and international connections that provided crucial intelligence for dismantling broader weapons trafficking network. His cooperation would prove valuable for prosecutorial success. Evidence collection at the warehouse location revealed extensive documentation of weapons trafficking activities, including shipping records, financial transactions, and communication records that confirmed federal investigation targets, while providing additional evidence for prosecution of domestic and international criminal activities. The evidence would support comprehensive legal action against organizational participants. The weapons cache discovered during evidence collection included military-grade firearms, explosives, and tactical equipment, with total estimated value exceeding $8 million, confirming intelligence assessments about organizational capabilities, while providing physical evidence of federal crimes that would support lengthy prison sentences for convicted participants. The weapons represented significant threat that had been neutralized. Digital forensics analysis of communication devices and computer equipment revealed international connections to terrorist organizations and foreign criminal networks, providing intelligence that would benefit multiple federal agencies while expanding investigation scope beyond domestic weapons trafficking to encompass international security threats and foreign criminal activities. Elena's debriefing with FBI supervisors documented tactical decisions and combat techniques employed during defensive action, providing case study information that would benefit future undercover operations and agent training programs, while confirming effectiveness of specialized combat training for federal law enforcement personnel operating in high-risk environments. Legal proceedings against captured criminals began immediately with federal charges including weapons trafficking, assault on federal agent, conspiracy, and related offenses carrying potential sentences exceeding 20 years imprisonment for organizational leadership, while providing foundation for asset forfeiture actions that would eliminate economic foundation of weapons trafficking activities while recovering resources for federal law enforcement operations and victim compensation programs. The economic impact would prevent organizational reconstruction and continued criminal activities. Training program modifications incorporated lessons learned from Elena's successful defensive action, with emphasis on hand-to-hand combat capabilities and environmental awareness that would prepare federal agents for scenarios involving multiple armed opponents in confined spaces, where traditional firearms training might prove insufficient for tactical success. Congressional briefings about successful investigation highlighted federal law enforcement capabilities and resource requirements for combating international weapons trafficking, with emphasis on specialized training and undercover operations that provided unique capabilities for penetrating criminal organizations resistant to conventional investigation methods. Security assessments addressed information leaks that had compromised Elena's undercover identity, with investigation of internal security procedures and communication protocols that would prevent similar compromise of future operations, while protecting federal agents engaged in dangerous undercover assignments requiring operational security for personal safety. Professional recognition for Elena's successful investigation and combat performance included commendations from FBI leadership and federal law enforcement agencies, with acknowledgement that her specialized training and tactical capabilities had achieved investigative success under circumstances that could have resulted in federal agent capture or death. The warehouse location was converted to federal training facility for close-quarters combat and tactical scenarios, providing realistic environment for preparing federal agents for similar high-risk situations while honoring successful investigation that had transformed criminal stronghold into law enforcement training resource. As legal proceedings continued against captured criminals and evidence analysis supported broader investigation of international weapons trafficking networks, Elena's 72-second defensive action had demonstrated that specialized combat training provided federal agents with tactical capabilities that could overcome apparently insurmountable disadvantages while achieving investigative objectives through professional excellence and tactical preparation.
The intelligence gathered from the Chicago warehouse operation triggered the largest international weapons trafficking investigation in FBI history, with Elena's successful penetration of the Kozlov organization providing access to criminal networks spanning 15 countries and involving terrorist organizations, foreign military personnel, and corrupt government officials whose activities threatened global security and American national interests. Federal task force expansion included coordination with international law enforcement agencies throughout Europe, Asia, and South America, with intelligence sharing that enabled simultaneous operations against criminal networks that had been operating undetected for over a decade. Elena's combat demonstration had protected crucial evidence that made comprehensive international enforcement possible. Intelligence analysis revealed that the Chicago operation had been a central hub for weapons distribution network that supplied military-grade equipment to terrorist organizations, drug cartels, and insurgent groups throughout the world, with transactions totaling over $500 million annually, while providing weapons that had been used in attacks against American interests and allied nations. The evidence collected during Elena's undercover operation included encrypted communication records that provided investigators with access to secure networks used by international criminal organizations, with digital intelligence that revealed operational methods, personnel identities, and financial transactions that had previously remained hidden from law enforcement surveillance and investigation. Interpol coordination enabled law enforcement operations in 12 countries simultaneously, with arrests of over 200 individuals involved in international weapons trafficking network, while seizure of weapons caches, financial assets, and operational equipment effectively dismantled criminal organization that had operated internationally for 15 years without successful law enforcement penetration. Congressional testimony by FBI leadership emphasized the critical importance of specialized combat training for federal agents operating in high-risk undercover assignments, with Elena's successful defensive action serving as prime example of how tactical preparation enabled investigative success under circumstances that could have resulted in agent capture, torture, and death. National security implications of the investigation revealed that weapons trafficking network had been supplying equipment used in terrorist attacks against American military bases, diplomatic facilities, and civilian targets throughout multiple theaters of operation, with Elena's successful infiltration preventing planned attacks while providing intelligence crucial for counterterrorism operations. Military cooperation included analysis of stolen weapons and equipment that had been recovered during international operations, with investigation revealing systematic theft from government facilities and military bases throughout multiple countries, indicating security vulnerabilities that required immediate attention and comprehensive security enhancement procedures. Foreign intelligence services provided additional information about criminal network activities within their territories, with cooperative investigation revealing the extent of corruption among government officials and military personnel who had facilitated weapons trafficking while compromising national security for personal financial gain through systematic betrayal of official responsibilities. Elena's role in expanded investigation included consultation on tactical procedures and criminal organization analysis based on her unique experience with international weapons trafficking networks, while her combat demonstration had established credibility with foreign law enforcement agencies who recognized superior training and tactical capabilities demonstrated during Chicago operation. Training program development for international law enforcement cooperation incorporated techniques and procedures validated through Elena's successful operation, with emphasis on undercover penetration of sophisticated criminal organizations and defensive capabilities necessary for agent survival in high-risk environments involving multiple armed opponents and hostile operational security. Financial investigation revealed criminal network assets exceeding $2 billion, distributed through international banking systems and investment vehicles, with recovery efforts coordinated through multiple jurisdictions, while asset forfeiture proceedings eliminated economic foundation of criminal activities and provided resources for victim compensation and law enforcement operations. Diplomatic cooperation addressed jurisdictional challenges and extradition procedures necessary for prosecuting international criminal network leadership, with coordination between State Department and foreign governments that enabled legal proceedings against criminal organization participants who had operated across multiple national boundaries while avoiding prosecution. Media management balanced public information needs with operational security requirements that protected ongoing investigations and international cooperation, while Elena's tactical success provided positive demonstration of federal law enforcement capabilities that enhanced public confidence in FBI effectiveness and specialized agent training programs. Academic research partnerships with universities and law enforcement training institutions incorporated lessons learned from Elena's operation into curricula for criminal justice and international security programs, with case study analysis that provided educational value while protecting operational details that might compromise future investigations or agent safety. Victim assistance programs addressed needs of individuals and organizations that had been affected by weapons supplied through trafficking network, with support services and compensation that acknowledged harm while demonstrating federal commitment to addressing the consequences of international criminal activities that had operated undetected for extended periods. Technology development initiatives included enhancement of communication security and surveillance capabilities that would prevent future compromise of undercover operations while improving agent safety and operational effectiveness during high-risk assignments involving sophisticated criminal organizations with international connections and advanced security capabilities. Professional development opportunities for Elena included advanced training and leadership positions that recognized her exceptional performance while providing career advancement that utilized her unique experience and tactical capabilities for mentoring other federal agents and developing specialized training programs for high-risk undercover operations. As international investigation continued producing arrests and dismantling criminal networks throughout multiple countries, Elena's 72-second combat demonstration had proven that specialized tactical training could protect crucial intelligence while enabling investigative success that exceeded all projections for international law enforcement cooperation and criminal organization disruption through federal law enforcement excellence.
Elena's successful defensive action against 6 armed attackers revolutionized FBI training protocols and sparked comprehensive reevaluation of combat preparation for federal agents, with her 72-second demonstration proving that specialized hand-to-hand combat skills could provide decisive tactical advantages in situations where conventional weapons training proved inadequate for agent survival and mission success. The establishment of the Elena Cobbs Advanced Combat Training Center at FBI Academy Quantico represented unprecedented investment in close-quarters combat education, with curriculum developed through analysis of her tactical techniques and environmental awareness that had enabled single-handed neutralization of multiple armed opponents. The training center became model for law enforcement combat preparation worldwide. Krav Maga instruction became mandatory component of federal agent training following comprehensive analysis of Elena's combat methods, with Israeli military consultants providing specialized instruction in defensive techniques designed for law enforcement scenarios involving multiple opponents, weapons disadvantage, and confined operational environments that challenged conventional tactical approaches. Training scenario development incorporated realistic environments and multiple opponent situations that reflected operational conditions encountered during undercover assignments, with emphasis on environmental awareness and improvised weapons utilization that had proven crucial during Elena's warehouse confrontation. The scenarios challenged agents to develop adaptive tactical thinking under extreme stress. International law enforcement agencies requested access to FBI training programs and tactical instruction based on Elena's demonstrated capabilities. With cooperative agreements that shared combat techniques and tactical procedures while enhancing global law enforcement effectiveness against sophisticated criminal organizations with military-grade equipment and tactical training. Elena's assignment as Director of Advanced Tactical Training provided platform for developing specialized combat instruction while mentoring federal agents whose assignments required preparation for high-risk operations involving armed criminal organizations. Her unique combination of operational experience and proven tactical effectiveness made her ideal instructor for elite agent development. Research partnerships with military special operations commands analyzed combat techniques and tactical procedures that had enabled Elena's successful defensive action.
with joint training programs that shared expertise between military and law enforcement communities, while developing enhanced capabilities for personnel operating in dangerous environments requiring superior tactical preparation. Psychological preparation programs addressed mental conditioning and stress inoculation necessary for effective combat performance under extreme circumstances, with training that prepared agents for decision-making and tactical execution during life-threatening situations where hesitation or tactical errors would result in capture, torture, or death. Equipment development included evaluation of tactical gear and protective equipment that would enhance agent survival during close-quarters combat situations, with emphasis on lightweight and concealable protection that would not compromise undercover operations while providing enhanced defensive capabilities during violent confrontations with armed opponents. Performance measurement systems tracked agent development in combat capabilities and tactical proficiency, with assessment criteria based on Elena's demonstrated techniques and decision-making under pressure that had achieved tactical success against superior numbers and firepower through superior training and environmental awareness rather than equipment advantages. Medical support training prepared FBI personnel for treating combat injuries and providing field medical care during tactical operations, with instruction in emergency medical procedures that could be administered by agents without formal medical training, while maintaining operational effectiveness during high-stress situations requiring immediate tactical response. Case study development analyzed Elena's tactical decisions and combat techniques for educational purposes, with detailed examination of decision-making process and technical execution that provided learning opportunities for current and future federal agents while protecting operational security details that might compromise similar operations. Technology integration included development of training simulation systems that replicated combat scenarios and tactical challenges using virtual reality and advanced simulation technology, with programs that enabled agents to practice combat techniques and tactical decision-making without physical risk while developing muscle memory and tactical awareness. International cooperation expanded to include combat training exchange programs with allied law enforcement agencies, with Elena's techniques being taught to foreign agents, while FBI personnel received specialized instruction in international tactical methods and operational procedures that enhanced global law enforcement cooperation and effectiveness. Recruitment programs emphasized identification of candidates with aptitude for advanced combat training and tactical operations, with selection criteria that identified individuals whose physical capabilities, psychological profiles, and educational backgrounds suggested potential for developing elite tactical skills necessary for high-risk undercover operations. Continuing education requirements included regular combat training updates and tactical proficiency assessments that ensured agent capabilities remained current with evolving criminal organization tactics and equipment while maintaining combat readiness necessary for successful operations against increasingly sophisticated adversaries. Professional recognition for Elena's contributions to federal law enforcement included multiple awards and commendations that acknowledged both her tactical success and educational impact through training program development that would benefit federal agents for decades while enhancing law enforcement effectiveness against international criminal organizations. Budget allocation for enhanced combat training reflected federal commitment to agent preparation and tactical capability development, with funding that supported comprehensive training facilities, specialized instruction, and advanced equipment necessary for preparing agents to operate successfully in high-risk environments requiring superior tactical skills and combat effectiveness. As training programs based on Elena's tactical methods continued producing agents with enhanced combat capabilities and operational effectiveness, her 72-second defensive demonstration had initiated transformation of federal law enforcement tactical preparation that would provide lasting benefits for agent safety and investigative success against increasingly dangerous criminal adversaries.
A dismantling of the international weapons trafficking network triggered desperate retaliation attempts by surviving criminal organization members and their international allies, who recognized that Elena's successful investigation and tactical demonstration had effectively destroyed their operations while exposing vulnerabilities that made continued criminal activities impossible without eliminating the federal agent responsible. Intelligence gathering by federal task forces revealed multiple assassination contracts placed on Elena through international criminal networks, with bounties totaling over $5 million, offered by various terrorist organizations and criminal groups whose operations had been disrupted by evidence gathered during her undercover investigation and subsequent law enforcement actions. Professional security assessments determined that Elena required comprehensive protection, including residential security, personal protection details, and advanced surveillance systems that would detect potential assassination attempts, while maintaining operational capabilities for continued law enforcement duties and training responsibilities at FBI Advanced Combat Training Center. The first retaliation attempt occurred 6 weeks after the warehouse operation, when 3 international assassins with specialized combat training attempted infiltration of Elena's secured residential compound, utilizing sophisticated surveillance equipment and tactical approaches designed to overcome standard law enforcement security measures and protection protocols. Elena's detection of the infiltration attempt demonstrated continued tactical awareness and environmental sensitivity that had characterized her undercover operations, with recognition of surveillance patterns and behavioral anomalies that indicated hostile reconnaissance and preparation for assassination attempt, requiring immediate defensive response and federal backup coordination. The confrontation with 3 professional assassins provided additional validation of Elena's combat capabilities, as she successfully neutralized armed opponents using environmental advantages and tactical techniques that overcame assassins' preparation and equipment, while protecting residential security personnel and maintaining operational security for ongoing federal investigations. Federal response to assassination attempts included enhanced security protocols and international cooperation to identify and eliminate criminal organization remnants that continued threatening Elena and other federal personnel involved in weapons trafficking investigation, with operations designed to prevent further retaliation while protecting law enforcement personnel from international criminal vengeance and assassination attempts. Intelligence analysis revealed that retaliation attempts were being coordinated by surviving criminal organization leadership operating from international locations beyond immediate federal jurisdiction, requiring diplomatic cooperation and foreign law enforcement assistance to eliminate threats against American federal agents and their family members. Second assassination attempt involved sophisticated surveillance and planning by foreign intelligence services that had been compromised by criminal organization corruption, with state-sponsored resources being utilized to eliminate Elena in retaliation for investigation that had exposed government officials' involvement in international weapons trafficking and terrorist support activities. Elena's tactical response to state-sponsored assassination attempt demonstrated evolution of her combat capabilities through continued training and operational experience, with defensive techniques that adapted to sophisticated opponents while maintaining tactical superiority through environmental awareness and adaptive combat methods that overcame advanced opponent preparation and equipment. International diplomatic pressure was applied through State Department channels to address foreign government involvement in assassination attempts against American federal agents, with diplomatic consequences and economic sanctions that discouraged continued support for criminal retaliation while protecting federal personnel from state-sponsored terrorism and assassination attempts. Enhanced training programs incorporated lessons learned from retaliation attempts and assassination scenarios into FBI tactical instruction, with emphasis on personal security awareness and defensive techniques necessary for federal agents whose investigative success might trigger criminal organization vengeance and international assassination attempts requiring specialized protective capabilities. Family protection protocols were expanded to include Elena's relatives and associates who might become targets for criminal retaliation or leverage attempts designed to influence her continued law enforcement activities, with comprehensive security measures that protected extended family members while maintaining operational security for ongoing federal investigations. Technology development included advanced surveillance detection and countermeasures that would identify potential assassination attempts while providing early warning of hostile surveillance and reconnaissance activities, with systems that enhanced personal security while maintaining operational capabilities necessary for continued federal law enforcement responsibilities. Legal proceedings against criminal organization remnants included prosecution of surviving members for conspiracy to commit murder of federal agents and terrorism charges related to assassination attempts, with sentences that eliminated remaining organizational capabilities, while demonstrating federal commitment to protecting law enforcement personnel from criminal retaliation. International cooperation expanded to include intelligence sharing about criminal organization activities and assassination planning, with coordinated operations that eliminated remaining threats, while preventing future retaliation attempts against federal agents whose investigations had disrupted international criminal activities and terrorist support networks. Media management addressed public information about assassination attempts while maintaining operational security that protected ongoing investigations and agent safety, with coverage that demonstrated federal law enforcement effectiveness against international criminal threats while acknowledging risks faced by agents conducting high-priority investigations. Professional recognition for Elena's continued tactical success against assassination attempts included additional awards and commendations that acknowledged exceptional performance under extreme circumstances while inspiring other federal agents through demonstration that specialized training and tactical preparation could overcome apparently insurmountable threats from international criminal organizations. Training scenario development incorporated assassination defense and personal security awareness into federal agent instruction, with programs that prepared law enforcement personnel for potential retaliation following successful investigations, while providing tactical capabilities necessary for surviving assassination attempts by professional opponents with advanced training and equipment. As federal security measures successfully protected Elena from multiple assassination attempts, while international cooperation eliminated remaining criminal organization threats, her initial 72-second combat demonstration had initiated a chain of events that transformed federal law enforcement capabilities, while demonstrating that individual tactical excellence could achieve strategic victories against international criminal networks.
5 years after Elena's legendary 72-second barehanded neutralization of 6 armed attackers, her tactical demonstration had become the gold standard for close-quarters combat training worldwide, with law enforcement agencies across 43 countries implementing training programs based on her techniques, while federal investigation capabilities had been revolutionized through enhanced combat preparation and tactical instruction. The Elena Cobbs International Law Enforcement Training Institute, established through cooperative agreements with NATO allies and international police organizations, provided advanced combat instruction to over 2,000 agents annually while developing specialized tactical techniques for high-risk operations involving sophisticated criminal organizations with military-grade equipment and international operational capabilities. Congressional testimony regarding federal law enforcement effectiveness highlighted Elena's investigation and combat success as prime examples of return on investment for specialized agent training and tactical preparation, with her single operation having eliminated international threats while providing intelligence that prevented terrorist attacks and criminal activities worth billions of dollars. International recognition included honorary degrees from military academies and law enforcement institutions worldwide, with academic acknowledgement of tactical innovations and training methodologies that had enhanced global security while demonstrating American law enforcement excellence and commitment to international cooperation against criminal organizations. Professional speaking engagements at international conferences provided Elena with platforms for sharing tactical expertise and operational experience with law enforcement leadership from around the world, while her presentations inspired new approaches to agent preparation and tactical training that emphasized physical conditioning and hand-to-hand combat capabilities. Documentary production about Elena's investigation and combat demonstration reached global audiences through distribution agreements with international broadcasters, with educational content that highlighted law enforcement capabilities while inspiring recruitment and professional development within law enforcement communities worldwide. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.